Did Hoyoverse mess up with Varka? Let's talk about it. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. So, Varka is my most anticipated Not Cry character. He was at the beginning, and he still is. No matter what, I really like this character, and I'm really looking forward to him. But, undeniably, he is not looking like the best pull at the minute. And I feel like the question we have to ask then is, did Hoyoverse mess up with this guy? Now, the thing is, there is still an empty spot in his best in slot team, so if we want to play the copium game, maybe he eventually gets a teammate that is going to help him out, and if that happens, that's great, but that teammate is going to have to do a lot of work to bring Varka up to current 6.x standards. Now, I do think that people are still pushing it a little bit too far, because Varka is not unusable. He's not going to be unviable by any means, and he is likely still going to be completely fine for clearing endgame content. Is he going to be top of the meta? No, definitely not. But he's going to be serviceable. But I feel like that's exactly the problem. People didn't necessarily want a serviceable character for somebody that people have been waiting for so long. Now, I will admit, I was someone that wasn't exactly waiting for Varka for years now. I knew he was the implied Grandmaster, this was the big shot who actually owned the Knights of Favonius and all that, but I didn't actually care about him until we saw his character design and his Japanese voice actor, so for me, I started loving him after we knew what he looked like, because I'm gonna be honest, I'm like the one person that didn't want him to have a beard. So I'm very happy that he turned out the way he did, and he is one of my top favorite Genshin designs as a result. Definitely not something that I ever could have predicted. But the fact of the matter is, there is a lot of people that have been waiting ever since he was just teased for him to come out. That is a lot of build-up over a long period of time. So naturally, expectations were built up. Because with a character like this that's been built up over such a long period of time, they are going to accrue a fan base, and they are going to get people that want to see this character be strong and interesting. Because usually only important characters get this level of teasing and build-up. Now, obviously, I'm sure that's not always been the case, but the Grandmaster of the Knights of Favonius is definitely a lofty enough title to justify being a strong character. Now, I don't think he's unusable, but the question is more so, did Hoyoverse mess up with him? And I feel like no matter what type of person you are, whether you're somebody like me who started liking him after he was revealed and after we found out what he's actually like, or if you were someone who was interested in him from the very beginning whenever we knew he was the Knight of Favonius Grandmaster, I think in both cases, it's reasonable to be disappointed by what he ended up being. Simply because, if you liked him during Not Cry, you saw all these other Not Cry characters come out, be extremely meta, even on cheaper levels of investment, barring Nafer, and then their premiums would absolutely knock everybody's socks off, and then by the time Varka comes around, you see that that's not the case, and that does just end up being disappointing. And then if you're somebody that's been waiting for him for a super long period of time, then you're also going to be disappointed because you have been waiting so long for a character that just kind of ended up being weak. Now, obviously, I'm still looking forward to him because I am looking forward to getting the character. The character of Varka is still very appealing to me, his design is still appealing to me, and all of these other factors regarding him still very much appeal to me. And even if his strength is not quite up there with the other 6.x units, I still like the look of his animations and gameplay. So it's not like they completely messed up in every aspect regarding this guy, but to say that his meta value got the same treatment as everybody else in Not Cry, definitely not. So, it is a shame. I will just admit it is a shame. Now, do I think that this character is unsavable? Not at all. But I think part of the issue is that, let's say they do actually give him a 5-star buffer down the line, he's just going to be really cost inefficient. Now, if you don't really care about cost, that's fine. But something else I need to point out is that you're not only going to want the premium team, but you're going to want Varka's signature weapon, because he does miss out on a lot of performance without his signature. Other characters from 6.x do not have this issue, so Varka, no matter what way you look at it, is just going to end up being needlessly expensive if you want to see great performance out of him, and as of now, that is merely a hypothetical. We don't know if he is going to get a cool dedicated support in the future to help him out. And if anything, Venti and Durin should have been enough. And I don't necessarily want to say this character is complete buns, because he has some positives to him. They're not exactly mind-blowing, amazing positives, but he has some, and he has reasons to play him, and he does have some free-to-play friendly teams. But the unfortunate fact of the matter is, he just wasn't treated as well as other 6.x units. I think a good way to put this into perspective is, let's say Varka does end up getting some great dedicated support down the line that does help out his damage. Okay, now take a look at Flynn's. He does ideally want Inefa if you want max performance out of him, but you do not need Inefa. His free-to-play team is still very strong and very satisfying to play, and it doesn't feel like a weak team whatsoever. Now, I will say this would put Varka into a similar category as Nafer, a character that is just not free-to-play friendly. Straight up, not free-to-play friendly. I will not pretend like she is just not. And same case with Skirk. She's also not very free-to-play friendly. So he is going to be put into this same category of units that requires another 5-star in order to get their job done efficiently. And I'm sure Varka will still clear. The matter has never been about, is this character going to clear? Yes, of course they will. It's Genshin Impact. It's pretty hard to not clear. Simply just getting all stars in Abyss is not really a difficult task. Getting all of the Primo Gems and Stygian Onslaught is also not a difficult task if you're playing on one of the lower difficulties. Imaginarium Theater is something that you'll be able to clear after you've been playing for a few months. So it's not like the endgames are super difficult if you manage to build teams and you know how to play the game. But just because something is able to clear doesn't necessarily mean it feels good to play or that it's at the standard that it should be at. If your only concern is simply, will I be able to play this character and will I be able to use him in endgame? Yes, of course. He is not complete trash, but he's not going to perform as well as other 6.x units. And it is a little bit of a shame. I was really looking forward to Varka being a super strong unit, because why would he not be? Very hyped up character, and every other 6.x unit up until this point has been really strong. So I don't know why there would be any reason for him to be on the weaker side. And listen, maybe we are just missing out on some kind of Hexarai buffer that would help the situation, or some kind of amazing buffer for Varka specifically, and if that ends up happening, then great. I don't want to say the problem is entirely solved, because he is just going to be in the same boat as Nafer, where he's going to be really cost inefficient, but at least he will have an avenue to deal respectable damage, and that is very cool and very awesome. But, man, it is a bit of a shame. I'm not necessarily going to say this kills my hype for Varka, because no, it doesn't. I'm still pulling for the character, I still really like him. Just because he's not strong doesn't necessarily mean I don't care about him all of a sudden. I just think it's a bit silly that this character that was supposed to be an upgrade for the Hexarai team, while he's good, he's not exactly anything mind-blowing. And, alright, I don't want to say that it's completely all doom and gloom, because there are ways that you can make him a bit better if you get his Sig, and if you get his constellations, that's something. But all around, it all just ends up falling into the same pit of you would rather just invest into someone else instead. I think, ultimately, it's mostly just a shame for people that are really dedicated to Varka as a character. If you don't really care about him and your main focus is meta or pulling the strongest characters, then Varka not being very good isn't really going to affect you all that much. It's as simple as this. You're gonna skip him because he's not really worth the pull at the minute, and maybe there are other characters you would rather invest into instead. And in such a case, yeah, fine, that's completely fair. There's nothing else to really add there, it's just, he's not going to be a character that you pull for, and he's just kind of in this awkward state right now where he's serviceable, but he's definitely below expectations. And you could make the argument, maybe people's expectations were too high. And I do agree with the sentiment that not every character needs to be the new strongest. They just need to be good at doing their own thing, and be able to fit into at least one team as a best in slot. That is usually my conditions for a character being a good, viable addition to the meta. Not everyone has to be the next Moika or Flynn's or Jabai. That doesn't have to be the case. 6.x has simply just been consistently providing us with really strong characters. But I think the issue for a lot of people is the fact that every 6.x character up until this point has been ridiculously strong. Columbina definitely wasn't necessary. I would say she's actually one of the weaker 6.x characters in terms of pull value, but for all of the other DPSs, they've all been amazing and really, really valuable to an account. It's mostly just Varka that kind of got shafted here, and it's sad to see. And you could make the argument it's because it's a guy. The reason I don't buy that is because then why is Flynn's so good and extremely meta? So that doesn't really check out either. If Flynn's was bad and Durin was bad, then okay, I'd understand. That's not the case. So that's the thing, I don't really get what it is here. It's not necessarily some anti-husbando agenda, because Durin and Flynn's are amazing units, and it's not like the character lacked hype. There was definitely people that were very interested in him for a very long time. So I do think they messed up in the sense that this character honestly should have been better for what he is, and if they just didn't want to release another strong character, they should have put him out later. He didn't need to come out right now if they were really that hesitant about making another strong DPS, and even so, he's a part of the Hexarai team. That's a team that already has a viable DPS for people with Venti. You can use Venti and be completely fine. You don't need Varka. So I think it would have been fine to make him the next logical step in investing into that team, and he still would have been skippable if people didn't want him. Ugh, it is a bit frustrating. I don't really understand why Hoyoverse did this, but it is what it is. I still like the character, I still really enjoy him, and I will continue to enjoy him. I'm looking forward to his story quest, I'm looking forward to the patch that features him, but all around, I'm definitely not gonna hold my hopes. I think that if you really love the character, don't worry, he'll be viable and you can still get him, but don't expect him to blow your mind performance-wise. That's just not gonna happen. So I do think Hoyoverse did kind of mess up with this guy, because, man, he's just not strong enough for the type of character he is. Hopefully this video was able to tell you why I think that Hoyoverse did kind of mess up with Varka. This has been Juice, signing out, and now I am going to be entering the Copium Chamber, where I wait and wait for Varka to eventually get a new buffer.